like a Xayah wouldn't be too bad. You get the Lovers Duo buff, of course. But again, after a game one like that, 1xN, if he's not on a hyper carry, it's going to be very, very surprising, to say the least. Don't want to see him on setup, especially in a game like this, in a draft like this.
Couldn't agree more. Kai'Sa is a lot, I would say, more volatile than the Xayah pick. Going to be locked in here.
Yeah.
You don't have the safety of that Feather Storm. You have to play, at a closer range as well. Don't have your own crowd control set up with the Feather pullback. So 1xN is really indexing fully into damage and creativity. There are a few 80 carries that I enjoy watching more than high-level Kai'Sa play, but the R5 for LNG that comes across is just going to be WeiWei, the staple Lee Sin to counter the Wukong.
Yeah, early game, very, very dominant, that matchup, 1v1. I mean, I say dominant. Dominant isn't the word I should really use. It's more that you kind of get that leg up, being able to kind of nullify a lot of the power out of the clone early on, to make sure you never really lose track of Wukong, can pay you pretty heavy dividends. Otherwise, you're able to normally just get to that, punch a little bit sooner than Wukong can. Wukong, not entirely reliant on that Cyclone. That said, Lee Sin, before level 6, just objectively a little bit stronger in terms of potency in some of those ganks early on. And he has the setup across the board, right? Renekton in the top side. Nah, if he, underneath tower, mini wave is a little bit stacked. Very much an easy target to just absolutely one-shot on the bottom side. Similar kind of deal. You got a lot of hard CC to potentially pick up a dive between the rail and the burst as well of the Corki. So options available for WeiWei. I do wonder how on the opposite side Beichuan is going to be able to deal with some of these lanes early on, probably getting shoved in, not having the most amount of priority, especially as a Wukong into a Lee Sin could start to lead to invades.
Two potent early game junglers piloted here by Beichuan and WeiWei as we are getting set to hit the Rift. Curious to see if we'll have any lane swap shenanigans come across. I feel like it's a little less slated than last game now that we don't have just a Cassante that'll happily tank up the 1v2, but Gnar, I feel, does fairly well into a lane swap scenario with his range form, and if you are on the side of trying to shut down the Zika Renekton, why not if you're ThunderTalk?
Yeah, we'll see whether or not that lane swap comes out, right? Because, again, I feel like of all the top laners, it's definitely... Like he's just about on the weaker end. It really depends on whether or not he can hit minions and then be mega when a wave is stacked. To at the very least have something like the wallop available, right? Otherwise, in mini, it just doesn't really have the stats to tough out a dive in many cases. We'll see, however, how things roll over, as I actually do think we did hear Gyos that time around.
We did.
Caught them just on the tail end, which makes me happy. That's like the spiritual buff for us here. Is LNG. I mean, actually, both these teams, it looks like, gonna be
thinking about
it. Yeah, I think TT a little bit more on edge. You can see Feather is hanging around in the mid lane, but I think now as 1xN moves up towards the top side, so we could just be seeing a completely different setup here for the lane swap. Hoya and 1xN maybe share XP top. Feather and SeTab share XP mid, and then once Feather hits that level 2 mark, you'll likely see him go down towards where Hoya is as... Ooh.
Wow. What a time to step back, right? No knowledge that Zhuo was maybe looking for a crash down. I also like Feather hanging around mid lane also to maybe help out SeTab. It could be a little bit annoying into the Talia as that Akali early on. So just gives him lane prio. And Hoya's going to reset, going to burn the teleport.
Lengthy TP from top to bot. As
5 seconds.
Zika's going to get a cheeky little auto Q in as he comes in. And Hoya actually missed his boomerang there as Zika hit level 2, so that could be problematic. But hey.
Wow, Feather. Huge grand entrance knockup. Gets 1xN the passive plasma procs that really sung home the damage as Photic already below sub 50% HP.
Yeah, big trade. Big trade. As Photic loses his barrier. So we'll see if TT can actually capitalize on that summoner spell advantage they're going to find themselves in up there. As we've kind of just ended up in standard lanes, just on the opposite side of the map.
With extra steps.
With extra steps, exactly. Zhuo is going to do his best to hold on to this wave. It's tanking up a lot of damage. 1xN will just still reset, and at the end of the day, this will just bounce back. This cannon wave on the 4th wave, right? Which is very, very strange. But what this will do is actually set up a bit of a slow push is a strong word now that the minions deal current HP. Still got to get used to how quickly waves will push and kind of stay in one place. But as Photic gets back towards that wave, he's not going to feel too horrible about it in the immediate future. It's about what that bounce back looks like and where these junglers decide to poke their heads.
It's looking like that first scuttle, which could be big. Is Hoya able to stave off a Zika trade with that Meganar pretty well, but both supports heading towards this river. WeiWei and LNG have the first move, thanks to scouting out those wards. Zhuo will cut down the one totem, and WeiWei will grab the scuttle advantage.
Not quite willing to give up the position there of where Photic was on top of that wave as SeTab. No Shroud, but has that E to go back to.
That's what you like to see out of those high-level Akalis, right? Using the callback shuriken to disengage trades rather than continue them. So nice little work there from SeTab. Gonna force the reset out from Haichao.
Very well played, and that should be the teleport as well. As there you go, you see across the map to Leah flies. And SeTab may be able to save his and teleport as well. Should be able to just walk back to lane. Unless he really wants to burn it. Is entirely up to him, and he will opt to do just that. So TP for TP, nothing too spicy here. As like you said as well, junglers just trade Skull Crab, so it will just be a reset here for WeiWei, and he's actually going to have those items in stock now, whereas Beichuan already clearing out that second rotation immediately. So I wonder if there's going to be a bit of a window of tempo as flash forward comes in from Zhuo.
Forces summoners out of Feather, burns both. Like I said, able to dodge most of the crowd control, so able to hold on to his key summoners. But Feather, certainly a little weaker, does have the sustain of the Rakan to try and heal up. But WeiWei is looking to punish Hoya, coming around for the long gank. Hoya does immediately burn the flash, but flash stun is followed, and LNG are going to easily grab up first blood here towards the feats of strength goal.
Yeah, feast strength goal on the good looks for LNG. First blood, and this is what I was talking about, right? Lee Sin, Renekton, Mininar, it's really easy to burst him out, and in this case, Hoya was too far forward. And probably felt a little bit emboldened by the fact that Beichuan was still on the map behind him, right? But finishes the recall. And unfortunately, for the top laner of TT, left to his lonesome for just a few seconds, picked up immediately.
Going to help get this wave in for SeTab as ThunderTalk will look to play towards those grubs, recognizing the makeshift top lane in the bot side hurting a little bit, so they wanted to play for the cross map, but good pink ward coming across there from Zhuo, going to track them well, and we'll see where these junglers want to end up with these neutrals, with WeiWei finishing up the Raptors. Beichuan going to take care of his top side camps as well, so there might be a contest around this. There's some pinks coming through.
Yeah, that could be, and I like that from TT, just kind of giving SeTab the freedom to breathe. Akali at level 6, very, very powerful. You want her to be, you know, as full on resources as possible in terms of health. So getting that nice little reset, and even if it now means she's going to have a second move, being able to get on top of someone else once this grub fight starts, super important to be able to dive in.
LNG showing their fangs. 4 members guarding this pit, holding the grubs. They even brought Zika over as well, who does have that dominance available. Last grub going to be 5 for Beichuan, going to go in for the steal, does not get it, so WeiWei secures first 3 grubs, which gives them 1 of 3 towards that Monster Slayer goal and the feats of strength we're all going to be tracking to start off this new season.
Yeah, that we will, and they've had, you know, a moderate amount of control on the top wave states as well, so I do wonder if this means we could end up seeing, you know, Photic and Zhuo get a good reset timer in a few minutes, come down and then actually look to contest that dragon, or whether or not it's just going to happen kind of organically with the way we currently have our laners set up. As WeiWei hits level 6, Hoya has no flash and could very easily be kicked up against the wall and one-shot.
Here we go. Jamada turns fiction into the truth as Hoya gets kicked away from his turret, goes into the alcove just to delay the inevitable. It is more dominance from Zika and this top side for LNG, leading them to more success this time in Game 2.
Yep, second death of the game here for Hoya, and WeiWei keeps on finding gold and XP out of the TT top laner here, and Zika as well, after a Game 1 like he just had, getting all of this freedom, the resources, the time. Who knows what he's going to be able to achieve in terms of those backline dives, right? That massive menace that Renekton kind of developed into throughout a lot of 2024 after years of slander, right? Absolute years of slander. of being a bad team fighter finally kind of beat the allegations, to be honest with you. We'll see how Zika will pilot that one.
I'm afraid for ThunderTalk because last game it was Zika's unkillable because he's playing Cassante tank. Now it's going to be Zika's unkillable because one Dominance Cole the Meek heals 700 HP and chunks all my carries out. Speaking of one of those carries, 1xn and Feather take a bit of a rough trade. Going to have to give up Prio on this wave as we are really just waiting for ThunderTalk to show that confidence and those aggressive moves that kept them in that first game.
Yeah, we'll see. Because right now it feels like they're kind of lacking bark, let alone bite.
Yeah.
They need to find something somewhere just to kind of regain a little bit of confidence. They're not in the worst game state in the world, but you know, you do want to try and really utilize the power of Carly on one of these early objectives at the very least. And so far, I suppose there's only been one opportunity to do that on the grubs. There hasn't been a dragon contest or anything of the like so far. But at the end of the day, SeTab, you know, he's actually up in CS, right? Significantly so, actually, here in this mid lane matchup. So he's not doing too bad, and he's going to hit that first item fairly soon. It's normally the rocket belt, and it's on the cheaper end of some of those first items.
SeTab, this Akali pick was a real difference maker in some pretty big, important Demacia Cup matches. Ends up blinding this as well into Haichao, so a lot of pressure. We talked about it, the difference between this matchup into the Demacia Cup and in game 1 of the LPL split was those solo lanes for LNG were just so much more in control. It really feels like that's got to be the difference maker we'll look out for because of how potent 1xn has been. He needs some help, though, if ThunderTalk want to get back into this series and this game.
See, at the end of the day, it's always the thing with Na, right? One big ultimate. One big ultimate. It's all you need. All you need to get all of the use, all of the value out of that champion. How many times over the years? 10 years, actually. Now that I think about it, Na's been in the game for 10 years.
Oh, that's a tough reminder for my mental state.
Because now that I think he was maybe the 3rd or 4th champion that came out when I started playing. And I remember the preseason, it was all about the Narvan combo, right? Na plus Jarvan, Jarvan ult. Used to be so much more powerful back in the day as
oh boy,
we were on the topic of Na.
There's the Gnar ultimate, the combos of stuns, but Zika is going to be happy to still come out of that trade on top. Hoya going to lose that Gnar bar, and that should give Zika even more control over the wave. Teleport not up, as ThunderTalk are the first to jump on these grubs way nearby. One of these squads has to secure all 3 to get the Mountain Slayer, but here's the Weaver's Wall. In goes Zhuo, trying to find a lockdown, but it's SeTab jumping into the background. Oh, that's a failed flash from Beichuan, trying to follow his mid laner. SeTab's buying time, has to perfect execute out of his own shroud. And ThunderTalk are now on the back pedal, and they're going to give up all the grubs to WeiWei. They were able to steal away 1, but it's still going to be mites for a 2nd game in a row for LNG.
Yeah, in the midst of the chaos, Beichuan did steal away 1, so it's not, you know, a whole feat going over to LNG yet again. And that dragon on the other side of the map now going to be the place where they're more likely to find that for the time being, unless they can start to chip away at one of these towers. But they're all pretty full HP for the time being. But look at this fight again. Haichao, good wall to separate the fight. Zhuo's engaged as well, really does lock down quite a few members as a kick. Keeps Feather out of the back line, and as you can see, SeTab not really able to find the kind of effectiveness you would like to hope from a diving Akali in the back line, as LNG able to take control of the grubs and pick up 2 at the very least out of 3.
Still not seeing that same bite from these ThunderTalk combos that were really prevailing in that first game. With the grubs, though, being split at the end, does kind of dilute the power of the Monster Slayer goal for the feats of strength. WeiWei will jump on this Drake uncontested so far. So, Jamada, as I'm saying it, they will be 1 epic monster away from securing feats of strength.
So it seems, as the rotation comes down towards Hoya again. Oh, Hoya.
Marked. Flash is off cooldown, having to be expended here. Good dodge on the seismic shove, though, so won't get knocked back. But LNG are making it a statement that they are making Hoya's life hell in this game.
In true LPL fashion, Hoya spent more of this game without Flash than with it so far. has just been absolutely bullied by LNG off cooldown, pretty much. So no real breathing room for him. As now we've got a bit of a shake up in the lane assignments, as SeTab will be the one dealing with Zika, as they found Photic.
Hopefully you went to scratch your nose and you got 3 members of ThunderTalk on top of you. That's the power of the Rakan and Kaisa. 3 ults used, but the first kill for ThunderTalk on the board.
Yeah, and there's just not really a reason for Photic to be in that bush. Kind of just camping out, really. And he's on a ward. Very easy pickings for TT. Not much else to talk about. Just buys them a little bit of a reprieve here after losing out on so much pressure for the last 5, almost 7 or 8 minutes.
Will buy Hoya some valuable time, gets a demolish crack, gets the plate away as those new lane assignments, like you called out, Jamada are coming across. Haichao. Gotta be a more fun matchup for Hoya. I think any matchup is more fun than the first 10 minutes of this game for Hoya.
Yeah, I think so too. Poor Na. I mean, look, we're talking about it now, and obviously Chinese side have to be talking about Zeka's game 1 and his pretty strong start in game 2 here. I will just make the call again. 1 big ultimate from Na. You know, he can be as useless as he wants to for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. All it takes is 1 big scoop into a wall and a little bit of AoE from TT. All of a sudden, those past 30 minutes of absolute pain are just gone as LNG looking to dish out more pain on the side lane. And look who's here. It's actually Hoya, but this time he's got friends.
Stacking up the Narbar as well as Beichuan was swing over alongside with Feather. But this was the LNG plan when they got grubs last time, playing for those feats of strength. Might not be 2 mites, but we're trying to overload and grab that first turret. Now with plates gone, it really does feel like it's going to be the deciding factor here. ThunderTalk really on the back foot for those feats of strength, but as we've come to learn, at least from game 1, we don't know how much these 2 teams really pay mind to the feats of strength goals.
Yeah, that was still really funny. Thinking back, if you managed to miss game 1, first off, it was a banger, so definitely recommend you at the very least watch some highlights, man, because obviously that game was incredible. But both TT and LNG, it felt like, just perhaps did not like the idea of picking up those tier 3 boots. And I mean, LNG got it and LNG won, so let that be indicative of how strong tier 3 boots are, Smile.
Yeah, Jamada's being a bit modest about it. There was a difference in seconds between ThunderTalk getting the feats of strength.
They left their junglers alone on the neutral objective on each side of the map. They both could have rushed it down.
Yep.
They both could have rushed it down. It was so strange.
We'll see if that idea kind of prevails again with us approaching that Herald coming up soon and the Dragon. Herald actually on the Rifter, and Beichuan is just going to jump on it all by himself here. But WeiWei, Zhuo, and Photic are all over here, so you got to be a bit mindful of just hammering down one of these neutrals by yourself. Aggro being juggled between WeiWei and Beichuan. ThunderTalk are forced out of the river. Herald going to reset, though. Shelly a bit angry. And both teams are just mean-mugging each other before a potential fight breaks out. Hoya has a Narbar stacked up. Teleport is available. That 1 big Gnarled, but it's Zhuo that gets the 3-man Magnet Storm. Feather goes in. Huge charge. Gets a 3-man knockup. It's Knockup City, capital ThunderTalk, but Zika is just not taking damage with the Dominus. He has so much healing, and he staves off all of ThunderTalk with his frontline prowess. And LNG are unrelenting. They will not give away this river no matter how many ultimates are thrown on top of them.
Yeah, that frontline engage was nice, but Hoya wasn't here to capitalize, right? If he's there to get that 3-man ult into the wall, that fight is done and dusted. TT walk over LNG. That kind of engage, but no follow-up means LNG remain in control of the river, and it seems like they're going to get this Herald. TT, they have to step off. All ultimates exchanged, so tier 3 boots, feats of strength completed here for LNG. And again, you know, if we're going to go by track record of at least today, they got tier 2 boots in the last one, or tier 3 boots in the last one. Ended up pulling ahead. Totally, entirely just tier 3 boots diff, nothing else.
It's not Jamada, it's not even your favorite tier 3 boots either. It's Steel Caps and Lucidity boots right now. No Swifties and Sorks love yet, at least. We got 2 more boots to complete. We're going to look, though, at what you were talking about. Good engage from Zhuo at the start, but they just don't have that they don't have that oomph to get these kills across yet, ThunderTalk.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Like, 1xN zoned by the wall. Hoya, of course, teleporting in. And the angle where he's teleporting is just not really great. And his bar wasn't fully stacked up. So, even if he could have just, like, you know, I don't know, dash flashed, right? Still wouldn't make it. And had been gnawed up. There's just exchanging health bars here.
Zika just does not care about Meganar. He's like, all right, you can slap me around all you want, man. I'm just going to stack my passive, Cold and Meek the Wave, and I'll heal right back up. Oh, yeah, there's nothing you can do right now. You need friends. Here are friends, though. There's Beichuan and Feather coming across into that bot side river. WeiWei trying to use the power of his top laner that's very far ahead to take this next Drake. Teleport coming across, down comes Haichao. Has the Weaver's Wall if they want to try and cut it off. 50-50s have not been the best friend of WeiWei so far in this series. There's the Cyclone. 1xN comes over the wall with the Killer Instinct. The Dragon is very low. Someone's got to pick it up, and Beichuan finds the steal as WeiWei nearly gets executed by SeTab's damage, and now ThunderTalk have the lightning to their thunder as they find 2 kills and a clutch Dragon to level the state of this game, too.
I am really surprised that that goes the way of TT, but it's all about the pit, and that disengage from LNG just a little bit too lackluster, eating up so much AoE damage. Really excellently done by the end of it by TT. And again, I think it's an engage from Feather that really keeps everything together there. And LNG aren't able to pick up that second dragon to, you know, kind of snowball things along. And Zika's going to teleport to this bottom side tower, pick it up. He's actually, he could get a little bit run down here. Ooh, Q doesn't connect.
Yeah, so no slow. Hoya's just farming grass stacks instead, but does feel like a bit of a tone shift between those two.
Yeah, it certainly does. Let's get... Why does this fight go so well? Beichuan goes in. It's another frontline combo, I think. And 1xN is able to actually get into the pit using the Killer Instinct. That's the main difference maker. So he's able to actually get access to just hit the front line as his engaged champions do all of the work. And yeah, I think also SeTab getting that ultimate through everyone as kind of a mix of an escape and repositioning really, really opens up the door for TT to try and pick up those final couple of kills. LNG caught a little bit of sleep at the wheel.
Nobody. This is why I have my tinfoil hat about this new season with the pro players. Look, they're just. I've seen clips of so many solo queue games where everybody's freaking out if not all 5 members are playing for this Atacon, and LNG and TT. They're just walking around it. They're like, oh, what's this guy doing down here?
It's a very fun buff.
It is once you get it, but I don't think the teams want it. Also, yes, SeTab has a killer flank. Zika. What's the 2 ships passing in the night, it feels like almost. Zika gonna find SeTab, gonna dash his way out. Beichuan and Feather were behind. It feels like ThunderTalk were trying to manifest another one of those combos, but LNG not gonna walk into that trap.
Not for now. Just want to call out Haichao did just use the Weaver's Wall top lane to make a quick rotation up there and not miss a wave. So in the event that there is a skirmish in the next minute and a half or so, won't have that tool available as Beichuan. They're starting up Atacon here, and there's no teleport from Haichao, and there is a TP from Hoya. So LNG out of position really to contest this one efficiently.
Do we have another voracious Atacon steal? WeiWei wants the 1v1 with SeTab. Gonna dash back to Stacey. Zika pops the dominance, is running in. Steam, head full of steam, but in goes Beichuan to the background. They have Photic pick 1x and flies across the fight, but Zika's damage eviscerates the bottom laners. Everybody's stacked on top of each other. 1xN untouched on the backside of the fight. It's gonna have to be the solo lanes holding up for LNG. WeiWei goes in. What a flash from 1xN with half a sliver of HP. He's able to survive, and now Zika's out of dominance and cut down by SeTab. Haichao has to be the hero now for LNG, but he can't find any of the kills. ThunderTalk come away with another fight win.
Haichao late to the fight, but crucially, LNG just make the call to turn onto 1xN so late. They just didn't have the range by the end of that fight to do it, despite the pylon being so strong from TT. LNG, Zeka in particular, of course, on their Renekton, makes pretty quick work of those divers. But again, it's about the fact that 1xN is able to just get free hits in for so long in this fight. We'll take a look at the dive again, because it's all about Beichuan and Feather. They find their way onto Photic. Great, but the re-engage from Zhuo, and obviously Zeka's AoE damage, massive between him and Photic as well. Kill them off, but 1xN, the entire fight, effectively still free hitting. And it's about WeiWei and Zeka here. they're so focused on trying to kill Hoya and SeTab, they almost forget for a moment that, hey, 1xn's a 2-item Kai'Sa, let's try and one-shot him, and they almost do. Flashes away at the last possible second 1xn does. But it just gives TT all the breathing room they need for that team fight as these teams reconvene around Atacon, and we're going for round 2.
This is what we want. Big Gnar ultimate comes across. 1xn flying on in himself. Once again, it's the front line stacked on top of each other. Photic this time will survive and kite back as Zhuo is cut down. SeTab jumps in for his own execution. ThunderTalk find 2 kills, but Zika still hanging around. Photic far too low to really get anywhere close. They're using Atacon to try to buy some time. Zika flashes onto 1xn, but does he have enough damage on his own? WeiWei gets knocked up by the grand entrance. Can't find the kill. Atacon lays down the LNG jungler for ThunderTalk, and Photic, he can't get anywhere close. We reload, and ThunderTalk still come out on top at the pit of Atacon.
Not only that, the dragon just spawned, so they're going to get the dragon as well if they want it. There's no real threat. Maybe they're scared of Photic, but Photic's 1 HP. They're just going to give it a reset for the time being. Super surprised. They could have definitely gotten both here, but will happily spend that gold, go back to the dragon, and look to fight again. And you have to wonder, is that kind of the fight of doom for LNG, right? You don't win here. How much stronger can you really get into the front-to-back composition, the diving composition in many executions from TT? As, again, this fight, it's just a shred. It's just a shredder. It's a mincemeat maker in the middle of it all. Again, Feather and Beichuan doing so much work on the front line, but then it's about this flash forward from Zika and from WeiWei. But WeiWei, I mean, the damage isn't interrupted, but he doesn't get to cast anything else, right? Immediately after that second Q. So unfortunately, for LNG at the very least, TT will get that Voracious buff. They're going to have the G8. They didn't pick up the Dragon off screen, so Dragon's still on the map, but Baron now, 25 minutes, still up and available. And with this GA, I mean, even if you throw at the Baron, as long as you kill the damage dealer, you know, like, the Baron's going to be too slow. You can just walk right back onto the map and do as you please.
Last game, we saw them grab the revive buff and immediately throw it to try and pick up the kills at the end. This is where we're going to really see the strategy of that Voracious revive. ThunderTalk, like you called out Jamada, are going to use it to start up this Baron. Does not matter if they die, if they're able to secure the buff, it comes with them back to their base. Will ThunderTalk try the 50-50 or to force a fight? They're using the Baron to try and bait LNG in, but they're just not biting.
Not for now. Not willing to put all the cards on the table just yet. And I mean, why would they? 3,000 gold up. They outscale, I think, in most cases. So why risk it? They're going to risk it now, though. 8k on the Baron. LNG. Will they feel like they have to make a decision?
Beichuan goes over the wall with the clone. They get the Gnar ultimate. It's all on to WeiWei. They find the jungler. They find the diamond in the rough to their Baron problem. But Beichuan has more Cyclones. Going back in, wants to chase down Photic. 1xn close by, getting those Kai'Sa autos down. And the Feather double grand entrance knockup is absolutely marvelous. What a swing in these last 5 minutes for ThunderTalk. Now Baron is a guarantee.
Feather and Beichuan, man, take a bow. Obviously, the damage is coming out from 1xn and from SeTab, but the setup has been incredible from the jungle support here of TT. And LNG don't know what to do. They can't really do anything. They're just getting caught on these snapping gauges. Time and time again, the front line is getting bursted down. And there's just no recourse from the side of LNG. And now Baron in the back pockets of TT here, and a lot of towers out on the map here for them to take down and just continue to extend and balloon this gold lead.
Another game where we don't get to see the true power of that Voracious Atacon revive. It does tick away, but in reality, provided ThunderTalk the tools to grab this Baron, and they'll start sieging down. Already got rid of that. Another wave coming up into that top tier 2 turret. Powered cannon falls just a bit short, but it feels like only delaying the inevitable, especially with those mid lane tier 1s. ThunderTalk, they're up so much more gold. The items difference is also, Jamada, really starting to flow in for some of those main damage dealers. What a rebound for Hoya. Now he's got that bounty. He went 0-2 to 5-2.
Yeah, not bad for the top laner of TT. But on that topic of items, right? I mean, Hoya's not too far away from his third item, but the real big difference maker right now is 1xn having that whole Nash's Tooth over Photic on just those 2 items. Don't get me wrong, Photic on the Corki's still going to be strong, but 3 items strong? Not right now. And SeTab has the important part of the Zhonya's components, right? Has that Seeker's Arm Guard, so he's got a stasis ready for the next fight. it's almost as good as that item completion, right? It's not all the stats, but it's that important button press that can really get him out of some sticky situations. As LNG,
Oh my God, these Void Seekers.
yeah, lose the tower and Photic on the wrong end of those Void Seekers, and you're starting to see how much poke damage is now going to start to be available to 1xN as well before fights even kick off.
1xN and Photic, the marquee matchup we highlighted between these two well-known and lesser-known LPL AD carries. 1xN really trying to make his mark. Was masterful in the Demacia Cup for ThunderTalk and has been just as impervious in this game too, or just the series in general. It feels like the real difference for ThunderTalk, even despite game 1 being a loss, has been between these two marksmen in their favor.
Definitely has. Whenever one of these two teams' AD steps up, feels like the rest of the team step up around them. And, so far, 1xN, I mean, both games, right? Game 1 on that Ezreal, absolutely incredible. So far on this Kai'Sa. I mean, I will say for TT, as I hold this point, 1xN loses Cleanse.
Cleanse doesn't really help you with Rel, does get kicked away by WeiWei, can't find the Sonic Wave to continue to try to pick off 1xN, but how does ThunderTalk look without their Kai'Sa able to fight? Luckily, not going to have to find that one out as LNG can't chase down their other members.
Not for now. We'll just step away, so TT lose a little bit of tempo, but the Baron was ending anyway. It's just more about the fact they won't be able to pick up that tier 2. I think that's what they were starting to slowly angle towards. And with that Baron gone and no Dragon up for the immediate future, of course just picked up not too long ago, we will just return to a neutral map state, and as we were saying, 1xN almost picked off, but whilst he's been a very big portion, of course, of his team's damage, and I'm looking forward to seeing the damage stats, actually. I'm sure they're pretty skewed. Beichuan and Feather's performance this game has been nothing short of exceptional and has really enabled 1xN and also subsequently SeTab to have some incredible teamfight moments so far this game. And they've muted LNG after what was a very dominating back half of game 1 from them. Now having a much quieter back half of game 2.
A pretty promising early game in game 2 as well. Just very much so nullified. One more 1xN stat to kind of throw out here across the two games, at least so far. Had 93% kill participation in game 1. He is currently at 100 in this game 2. Just part of every kill, even with the awesome setups from Beichuan and Feather, is just, if it's a ThunderTalk play, it's got to have 1xN in it.
Needs to have 1xN in it in this kind of game state. He's also approaching that 4th item as well, going to towards the Crypt Bloom, most likely, unless he randomly decides he wants it to be a Void Staff.
Right.
They need to buff Void Staff again. I think it's just not as good as its counterpart, unfortunately. Either buff it or just barely bring down Crypt Bloom's tower, but I don't know if Crypt Bloom needs heavy nerfs. It's just kind of not as nice to have, you know.
I think they should buff Triforce and Manamune. Can you tell what champion I play a lot in solo queue? It's not Corki, for anyone wondering.
It's not Corki. It might be Ezreal. Maybe.
Good guess. That's why they pay you the big bucks, Jamada. Decipher.
They pay me the big bucks? I don't know.
Oh, that's a good point.
But yeah, I mean, I think either way, whatever 1xN goes towards, he's going to be dealing a lot of bloody damage.
Yes.
And speaking of damage, SeTab, edging ever so closer to finishing up that Zhonya's, also has a Medjai's, so
has the book.
The more souls that go into it, the more powerful the book becomes.
We talked about it, the stark difference between successful ThunderTalk against LNG and unsuccessful. It's starting to show once more, even just with bounties, is how can these solo lanes stack up. Early, it felt like it was once again the Zika show, just running away, but Hoya and SeTab now have really had some marvelous games, especially early games, and they're the only two with bounties currently here. And like you talked about, even with the book purchase, SeTab does have that stasis, so it's just going to be really difficult to mark SeTab and take him down in these fights.
It's going to be the difficult part, even if they do lock him down, like the Zhonya's, the general slipperiness of Akali. And even if you manage to kill the Akali, if you spend resources killing a Kali, you know what that is? It's resources not spent killing 1xn.
Exactly. There's
It's
1xn
so bad.
and Beichuan. They just hop right on to this Baron. They're burning through it. This is a nearly 4-item Kaisa with more than enough damage with Wukong. Teleports coming across. Hoya's here as well. They're trying to play bodyguards. Make sure Baron's secured for ThunderTalk. Hoya and Feather trying to hold all of LG at bay. Now they'll try to find a go as Hoya dropping into that mini Gnar. But in comes SeTab from the back, and nobody's touching 1xn. It's another marvelous meat grinder of a fight, but this time it's ThunderTalk that find themselves the ace, and they might have just evened up this series with one big fight.
One big fight, all it takes for TT, and they should be able to close this one out. 40-second death timers across the board, and what a massive step up from game 1 to game 2 it has been for this lineup. Almost made you feel like it could just be a quick night, just the way that game 1 ended, but it was always close, and this one, not so much. Stomp over LNG in a 34-minute fashion will bring their series even one apiece.
What a response from ThunderTalk. That is the shades of the team we saw come up with the upset of the Demacia Cup. It's 1xn, the ever-reliable, high-octane damage dealer, and the power of those critical picks for those solo laners. You also mentioned, obviously, Beichuan and Feather, really good engages. But I think that game doesn't really rebound for ThunderTalk if we don't see Hoya get that. I wouldn't say it was just one big gnarl, Jamada. I think we had a couple of big ones in there to get it back in.
There were a couple of nice ones. I think it was really only 2. Again, I'm gonna keep on 2 at the Horde. I don't care. Like the Feather engages alongside Beichuan. Just being able to enable 1xn to get into positions where he can hit targets he really wants to hit, like the squishy champs, as opposed to having to get through the frontliners, really just made that game so easy for him to pilot. Simply because, again, the composition of LNG doesn't really get to scale, right? You know, you've got Renekton Lee Sin top side. If you're not finding these big, moments where, we saw it kind of for a brief moment in that bottom side fight over Atacon, right? That's really as good as it was ever gonna get for LNG. They have to win that fight, and if they don't win it, get the Atacon buff and then really snowball the game out from there, the game looks like what we saw play out after the fact, right? So definitely a little bit of a rethinking, reshuffling is gonna have to happen. I mean, at the end of the day, Fearless Draft means they can't play the champions again, so LNG will have to come up with some new plans as TT, again, very comfortably, it felt like by the end of that game, walked over them and to make that 1-1.
We also evened out 1-1. Feats of Strength victory team. 1-1 now. As LNG got in both games. Yeah. Team to get the Atacon buff. It's been voracious for 2 games. Also 1-1 because ThunderTalk stole away the first one, grabbed the second one for themselves. So I don't know. Riot Balance team.
Maybe it's balanced. Maybe
doing
it's
a victory
balanced.
lap.
Yeah.
After 2 LPL games on a random, I guess. We're now Tuesday, depending where you are, Tuesday. It's Tuesday for everybody.
It's Tuesday for almost everyone now. So, yeah. Random Tuesday in the middle of January. 50% win rate on both those buffs. It means they're balanced. That's the context we're bringing to these numbers today. Need they be analyzed any further?
What is an interesting thing to analyze is, I'm with you, right? Like, the Feather bait. This game does not go well for ThunderTalk if Beichuan and Feather are setting up these awesome engages, but are we just... It's got to be... They're going to give 1xn the MVP. I feel like they're just going to give 1xn the MVP. Classic AD carry moment, by the way.
I can see it. Sorry, I have to think about these things. When it comes to, LPL voting around MVPs, you have to take your time, right? And I think this... Yeah, they're probably going to give it to 1xn, aren't they? We'll see. We're getting ever closer towards that MVP vote. 1xn, 28k, 29k damage. Hoya actually pumped out a fair bit of that. Obviously, top late Ranger to be you're always going to be a little bit inflated, but quite a bit of damage by the end of it. As again, 32%. I feel like for LNG, just to touch on them briefly again, having lost the game now, have to bounce back after a strong game 1. It makes you kind of question whether or not they just go back to kind of a scaly-ish draft, right? A much more responsive draft is, I feel like, the right way to describe what their draft was. Whereas, you know, of course, this game was a lot more about having to try and be proactive. And if you're like, it was always TT being the ones first to a play, first to, you know, make a pick, to engage. And even if it was, you know, maybe LNG just Zhuo goes in, the immediate counterpunch was always there. So, yeah, I think for LNG, wonder if that's something that's also going to weigh on their minds a little bit in terms of how they actually look to draft. Or if they're going to kind of just go with the flow, go with the waves, and see what champions they can pick up that feel strong in the immediate.
I'm also curious if they might lean to put Photic maybe on more setup. We just didn't get enough out of, especially this game. Photic really just, we didn't get that quirky damage that we've been seeing for you know, so it's been such a terrorizer, especially when it comes to like recent patches before this season. Do you lean maybe more setup for Photic so he's still potent, because the quirky just wasn't in this game, and it's not like he was even really outranged. This was a game, I mean, you called out multiple times.
Yeah.
You can see watching these fights, everybody's like stacked on top of each other. There's no range problem for a Corki here.
Yeah, no, there's no range problem, but he can't really right click into this composition, right? And that's the thing with, you know, this version of Corki. It's not old Corki where you get to kind of just sit back and just chuck in rockets into a fight. You do need to get right clicks in to really maximize your DPS to get the rockets back up, right? So in a situation like this, it feels really hard. So I kind of agree with you. I think especially after his game 1 performance, it was very shaky on that Kalista, you know? There weren't really many standout moments or sequences for him in that one either. So I do wonder if, you know, the call is, hey, Photic, you know, sit on a Varus if it's unbanned, or sit on a Jhin for us and just play setup and give us the, you know, the kind of over-the-top engages or CC and utility that we kind of feel like we're lacking right now. And maybe that allows us to put damage into other places. Maybe
we'll see. And, you know, if Ashe slips through, I'd be surprised if Ashe slips through for either side, but
no,
you go on that. You go on that one. It's got to be a switch up, and like we saw, we threw up the stats. I mean, the last time these two teams play, you know, 1xN and Photic matched up, stats-wise, Photic was competing very well, but it's really, even back to the Demacia Cup matchups, been 1xN running the marksman matchup and giving ThunderTalk that big edge. And I want to keep hyping up 1xN because I really feel like we're here we go, player of the game. There you go. You called it, LPL voters.
LPL votes, man. Look, I get it. Big damage numbers, AD carry flying across the screen. It's cool, you know. Especially if it's kind of, it feels like we're reminiscent of Jackie Love, of Uzi, even further back, right? Cool, really fun. Are we gonna ignore why he was able to do that in the first place? I guess we will. Yeah, not surprised. I think all three of them really kind of deserve to sort of share that accommodation today. But hey, it is what it is. LPL votes always going to be like this. I'll always fight it. I'll never stop when it comes to LPL MVP votes. For now, though, I think we'll see whether or not 1xN can keep up this this pace that he's setting for himself. Because game 1, like hell, if TT took game 1, 1xN would have got MVP almost, no doubt, in anyone's mind. So has a pretty good run going for himself tonight so far.
There he is. 1xN taking on the player of the game, the MVP from game number 2. ThunderTalk have assured us a long night, but a fun one ahead. Best of 5 for Group C, even up at 1 apiece. We'll come back for Game 3 draft with 20 fresh new champions and somebody finding an edge in a very, very important match to decide who could potentially go to the bracket stage of Split 1. All of that coming your way after a couple ads and a short break. We'll see you on the other side.